Hello, this is Raymond Foo from EMSNow here at Nepcon South China. I'm joined today by Hamed El-Abd. He is the Executive Director and President of WKKD. Welcome, Hamed.
Thank you very much, Raymond. It's nice to have you back on the booth.
Nice to have you here, Hamed. Hamed, could you tell us how has the China market been for you this year?
Well, to be very honest, as you well know, the global economy has been very, very difficult. The United States and Europe have been hurting. Therefore, you don't get as many orders from the Chinese suppliers. So China's been hurting as well. I mean, anyone who tells you differently, would be very difficult to believe, because overall, the market is very tight, very difficult.
Right, and do you see any perhaps saving grace, like another country coming up as an alternative to China, China plus one strategy? How do you see the future a little bit?
Well, obviously people are concerned over costs, increasing costs in China, so people are looking to move out. When I say move out, does not necessarily mean move out of the country, but move to areas which are lower cost.
Like Western China?
Like Western China or deep into the interior. We now even see people going into Xinjiang, Urumqi, moving in with electronics. But for the lower cost items, lower cost products like very inexpensive toys, even clothing is going offshore to Bangladesh, to Pakistan, and to countries like Sri Lanka, for example.
Like for the electronics industry itself, there's a report from IBC saying that there will be further onshoring of electronics back to the US. Do you see the trend moving that way?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of people talking about bringing the things back, bringing the jobs back, which I understand is important. But the important question you have to ask, how are you going to do that? How are you going to repatriate jobs, bring them back to the United States? It's not such an easy thing to do. We'd all like to see jobs go back to America, which will help improve the American economy. But how do you do it? How do you take an iPhone made in China at the costs with the infrastructure already here in place and move it to the United States, where you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the engineering capabilities for manufacturing? I'm not talking about design, I'm talking manufacturing.
Right.
It's not there.
Right.
So it's very difficult to get. We were the leaders in manufacturing of very sophisticated items, but a lot of those people have retired today. So they're not there. So where do you have the talent today is here, in China. So even leaving China to go elsewhere, the talent is still here. People said everyone's going to move to Vietnam, and a lot of people did move to Vietnam, but then it didn't work and they moved back.
Right.
Now what you see here in Guangdong province is approximately 4,000 factories are planning on moving out to save cost and reduce cost. Where do they go? Either the interior of China, or they will move to a lower cost area. Now, one of the new possibilities, which is on everyone's radar today, is Burma.
Right.
Low cost, okay.
But that's a long way from now, isn't it? Because infrastructure in Burma is probably not ready for a long time.
It's not ready. It will take some time, maybe a few years, but Foxconn's already announced that they're moving and putting up a factory there.
Right.
So when they do that, a lot of suppliers will move in. It's going to take time, and the restrictions have to be lifted first, which I think is going to happen by the end of the year, early next year.
Right. And of course, WKK is present in other countries in Asia as well, besides China. Which market do you see as emerging quickest during this financial slowdown, so to speak?
The market that's been doing the best has been Thailand. Thailand has been doing the best so far this year.
And they've recovered from the flood already?
They have recovered from the flood already, and I think that they were able to absorb a lot of the factories' business from Japan, from
Right.
their problems. And this is easier for the Japanese to go in there. They already have an infrastructure. They already have a history of factories in Thailand. So that's been doing very well for us this year. We expect next year Burma to start to open up.
Right.
We've always been hopeful that Vietnam will come up. It's been very slow to come up.
Right.
And that part of it has been the bureaucracy's been very difficult. The ability to get parts in and out has been very difficult. So we think that they need to improve this area so that this will boost the productivity and people moving in.
Okay.
Also, costs have been going up.
So final question, looking into the crystal ball a little bit, if you have one. How do you see the electronics industry panning out overall at the end of this year, on a year basis, 2012? What's your verdict?
I think that we're going to see pretty much more of the same that we've seen in the first half of the year.
Right.
A lot honestly depends on the elections coming up in November. What kind of a president are we going to have? If we have, I don't want to be political here, but we need a business-oriented president that's going to start to drive the American economy. There are hundreds of American companies that are sitting on tons of cash they haven't spent, and they need to start spending that cash, but they're not doing that. So it's very difficult to predict. I think that in light of what's happened in the first half of the year, we're probably going to see more or less the same, and we look towards next year to things to begin to bounce up. If we see a change in the presidency in the U.S., I think that will give business confidence, and you'll see a tick up in Q1, Q2.
Right, okay. Thank you very much for sharing your views, Hamed.
Thank you very much.